Welcome back to Rockstar's Dream Magazine's podcast. In other words, welcome back to RDP. My name is Mike Fallett, and I am the chief editor of Rockstar's Dream Magazine. We do a lot of cool stuff here, but what we're talking about here is, for those who want it all, for Americans who want it all. It's about going after what you want and having the lifestyle and learning some things. And we're going to give you information in an educational way. I got the glasses on today, giving my eyes a break. So if you can't see through the reflection, I apologize. But something happened that is pretty mind-boggling in the world of content creation. A man named Joe Rogan, a guy who I've been watching on YouTube, not anywhere else, by the way, on YouTube, just got offered and paid probably over a 2, 3, 4-year deal, but regardless, paid $100 million to break down and leave from YouTube, iTunes, anywhere, a SoundCloud, wherever he's at, and go specifically and only to Spotify. Think about this. This man sits in a room and interviews high-profile guests. This is the name of the game. He is creating content. He's interviewing people, creating content. A lot of it is not just him. It's him talking to really interesting people, but he's putting his own spin on it and adding a lot of flavor to it. That's what makes each show interesting and worth watching, because it's two different personalities, maybe sometimes even 3 or 4, from all different backgrounds. He comes from the fighting world. He comes from, he's a comedic, I guess you could say big timer all over. He's comes from a world of in Hollywood. He's in I guess San Diego. He's around comedians and movie stars and just scientists and politicians come on. And he just starts asking questions and he adds his own stuff in there. He talks about sports and Mike Tyson, a lot of things that I like, so that's why I watch it. That's why I listen to it. And there's a lot of times I'll just be doing work on my desk and I'll turn on YouTube and just let it run. I really never put on any of the podcast channels, but this kind of raised awareness of like, well, why would he leave somewhere and go somewhere else? Now, let me just tell you right now, if you look at the data of Spotify of what happened to their stock after they announced this, I just watched a video by Patrick Bet-David. Anybody listen to this, I'm telling you, just go and watch Patrick Bet-David explain this. He does this in such a fantastic way. But number one, the moment that they released that information, of course, giving someone $100 million sounds crazy. Why would Spotify? Can they really make that money back in advertising? Can they really make it back through viewership and maybe subscribers if they wanted to do the Spotify premium? I don't even know if they were thinking like that, because if you look at the stock price, it raised like 20 some dollars. And if you add all that up with all the shares, it actually raised the company worth an increase of $5 billion in 2 days. It went from 160 something per share to like 189. And so it raised the company's net worth, or value, I guess, not net worth, but value, $5 billion in 2 days. So yeah, they're willing to give $100 million in such a short amount of time. It's fantastic to understand, like, that's how the big companies look at it. So $100 million for that and all the attention, maybe getting a lot of subscribers and maybe getting a lot of people pulled over. They're setting the standard. Going forward, this is how it's going to be done. So that is amazing. Joe Rogan, I'm so happy that you're leaving YouTube just to see this and see what you're doing and how you're putting it together. I'm a big fan of you. I'm a big fan of Dana White. I'm a big fan of UFC in general. And I've noticed, and I don't know if anybody else out there notices, but you see him doing certain things in the past couple months that maybe you start to see like who he really is more than ever, maybe because he knew this was coming. But number one, he started talking about leaving California, just because of this quarantine and not being able to work. He doesn't want to be around for that. And he understands what's happening. It's not just the money. It's not just about the economy. He started planting seeds. And if you go back a couple more weeks, even have nothing to do with the quarantine, but you start hearing how he talks about certain things, it's not the same old political Joe Rogan of, talking about Bernie Sanders. He started to change his ways. And he's starting to watch his step a little bit more, because you could start to see that morph in a certain direction that YouTube and Facebook and all that are a lot more protective of. He's kind of watching his tongue more. And maybe he just wanted to watch his back before he walks out the door, because at the end of 2020, he needs to be completely off of those platforms and onto Spotify's platforms. So I don't know how many people he's going to pick up just by being on Spotify. But like Patrick Bet-David was explaining, what they're going to do most likely is advertise like crazy to get them over. So that makes a lot of sense. But I came across a lot of cool stuff just by YouTube recommending it and Google recommending it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I'm seeing how Joe Rogan was acting, and now he made this change. This gets released, and now he's going over. And it's a cool thing to notice at this time because of censorship and what's happening in the social media world and YouTube. You see it. It's almost like I'm doing this because it's me fighting back is what I'm looking at. You start to notice these things a little bit more when you're starting to put two and two together. So I'm very proud. I'm very excited to see that. I'm thrilled that someone I look up to and listen to got that contract, and they're able to use capitalism in a way that, hey, you're not gonna control me. You're gonna, and maybe they had this discussion in the background, but unless you pay me, I'm going somewhere else. And I really believe YouTube, Google, iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever else he's hosted at, is going to get hurt very badly, just because he's going to one platform and one platform only, which is Spotify. So I love the fact that the free enterprise system allows you to make decisions based off of your beliefs. And it says, hey, if I'm going to go over there, I'm going to do it for, not only for my audience's sake, but for my best interest, for my company's best interest. And we are going to affect those that are trying to hold us back. And I don't know if that's going to hurt them to the point where they're really going to suffer, the companies that he's leaving. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe other things are going to be coming out into the open where content creators like myself start to really push out stuff because they see the power in it, and maybe they up their game. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's a great sign that we're on the right path. Great job, Spotify. Great job, Joe Rogan. Fantastic. I'm rooting for you guys. I'm rooting for UFC all the time, just from what they're doing, pushing the boundaries. And since he's a part of it, it just even makes more sense to get behind him. Anyway, that's what I think of it. Anybody out there, if you're trying to create content, do what he did. Never stop. Some of them are going to be better than others. Keep putting stuff out there. My assistant even just messaged me and said, you better put a podcast out. And I had a little bit extra steam in me because I could see how content creators can get paid if they stick with it long enough. Keep creating content. Good things happen. My name is Mike Fallett. This is the RDP. We'll see you next time.